Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Let's get started. The wisdom session today. How many of you are familiar with 4 agreements? 4 agreements. Any of you are familiar with the 4 agreements? Okay. So this is a very ancient Toltec wisdom that the central idea where you probably would have heard about it. So we're going to talk about these 4 agreements, and the 5th agreement that also came um, in the order. So which talks about human suffering is a self-created. So we create our own suffering. How do we create it? With our own unconscious agreements we make, either with words, beliefs, or assumptions. Either with words, beliefs, or assumptions, we create our own suffering, human suffering. How does these agreements run? These agreements run very silently within ourselves. So the concept of this Toltec wisdom basically is giving out the 4 agreements or new conscious agreements to replace the old belief system, old way of talking, and the old assumptions that you make. A lot of times, what happens is the inner chatter that we develop over a period of time becomes the reality for us. So, these 4 agreements help us to unwind that mystery as to how we live unconsciously. On one side, spiritually, you understand that you always have to be aware, you always have to live consciously. On the other hand, we have absolutely no control on our speech, on words, or the beliefs, what you carry from your childhood and beyond, and the assumptions that we make to ourselves based upon circumstances, situations, depending upon your relations, whatever may be the triggering point. But the fact that we are assuming things, and then hence that's what is our reality. So the first agreement in this regard is be impeccable in your words. So this was written by Don, right? Don McGraw. Uh, and and the concept is very simple, right? Be impeccable. The first assumption is be impeccable. Your word has power. Our words have power. Whatever we say, whether to ourselves or to others, creates reality. This is the simplest truth that's out there, right? So, but for us to be able to not take that into consideration, what does this impeccable mean? Anyone? What does this impeccable mean here? Sharda ma'am, if you have read the book or you have heard about the 4 agreements.
Yeah, but I haven't completed all. Uh, but what is the question that you're asking? Can you please repeat that so I just try
What
to
is
understand?
impeccable? You have to be impeccable in your words. What does this impeccable mean?
It means if we say to ourselves like, "Oh my God, I'm so failure. I'm so inefficient." If we think that way, that words we implement to ourselves, then universe will give the same thing. So we'll be That's why we use the affirmation like a I'm strong kind of thing. That's a simple layman understanding of me.
That's one way to say that, right? I mean, so Navya, madam, you were muted, unmuted too. Or Sundar sir, please go ahead.
Yeah, the word
Certainly.
impeccable is, yeah, sorry, it seems to be more, you need to be loyal yourself, and
Exactly,
be integrity is what very key way is,
exactly,
you know, making
exactly,
sure what you say is have more integrity and be honest.
exactly. Go ahead, Navya. You have anything to
I
add?
was just saying the same thing, that being truthful to what you're saying.
Yes, yes, absolutely. So you have to be truthful. You have to have your own integrity. You cannot be causing yourself by saying things, whether causing some kind of, a negative aspect to yourself, or whether you're knowingly doing it or unknowingly doing it, especially the the way you have to look at it is, right, whatever you are negating, whether we are complaining, whether you are criticizing yourself, whether you are not talking truth, you know whether you are gossiping, which is a very big one, right? A lot of these things is what impeccable means. So when we talk about our words have power, why can't we choose? It's a choice. Every single time what you utter from our mouths, we have a choice. So this first agreement is all about that. So whenever you say you are this, you are that, I don't have this, I'm a failure, you gossip about others feelings or others lifestyles, whatever we do, all of that is going to come back to us, because that is what you are asking for, because we are creating our own reality. So the way the agreement works is, be impeccable in your words, is ideally you're speaking very, very cautiously, whatever you're saying, right? Instead of saying something out loud that will have consequences, you're better off being with inner silence, practicing inner silence. So this is the concept that Toltec has brought, right? Where they are saying that you have to be very, very careful what you are saying, right? As an example, someone is saying something out loud to you that you don't agree, right? Uh, what happens in a typical scenario is we react, or we feel very agitated, or you feel very angry, and that may continue for a long, long time. When you bring this, be impeccable in your words, and you practice this, these are practical things that you are supposed to bring it to your life, right? Each of us have to practice this for some time. Then what happens? You don't react anymore. You just be in the state of response, and you are very silent. You know, the peace within you doesn't go anywhere. You are with it. So that's the beauty when we practice this first one, right? So that's the reason, knowing the four agreements is one thing, and bringing them into our lives and practicing it and living through that is a different thing. And that's why it's very important. The first point, which talks about the impeccable aspect of us, right? The way, the Toltec concept talks about it. Your words are like spells, right? Either you use them to create a wound for yourself, or you can heal yourself. The choice is yours. So that's why, it's very important that we have to start to look at it as to what am I saying. Even Patriji talks about the concept where he says that, thoughts may come and go. You may not have control of it because some of the thoughts are coming from your past karma, which is a past births, right? So they are bound to come, they're bound to go. But and then sometimes you may probably are forced to go into thinking pattern, right? That may also happen. But what you say, you have full control. If you are saying it with some kind of negative tone, if you are saying it, whether it's conscious or unconscious, doesn't matter. Whatever may be the type of feeling that you attach to the words that comes out, those are the spells. You have a good emotion and you say the word out loud, then that becomes a spell. So it's bound to happen. So that's the reality there. It's the first one. So second one is don't take anything personally, right? What others say or do not take anything personally. Why do we take anything personally? Anyone? Think about it. Why do we take anything personal?
You're asking why we
If
shouldn't take or why we have to take?
Why we are taking things personally?
we are not
Yeah.
living at our soul level,
Mm-hmm. That's one
Emotional
way to look.
awareness.
Not in awareness. Okay.
And
What
I
else?
think
Maybe
we
it's
always
insecurities. Yeah, so
sorry.
it's maybe our own insecurities also.
Insecurities. Yes. Yes. Yes.
And we always we assume ourselves that it's saying to me, which is not good. That's why we take it as a personal.
Yes.
We
Yes.
indicate to ourselves like, oh, he or she is saying for me like kind of things. It's a
Exactly.
misunderstanding maybe.
Yes. So if you really look at it, why do I take anything personal? Is because I am identifying with the ego, right? When I identified with the ego, I take things very personal to this. Am I looking for some kind of agreement? Am I looking for some kind of comfort? Is there an old emotion, right, that has got a connection in terms of what I am about to say or what I have gone through right now? Whatever may be the triggering point that you take it personally, right, is going to create a process, a karmic cycle, especially in the emotion aspect of it, right? If I'm looking for other person to say, okay, you are good person, you are assuming or you're expecting other person to say that, okay, you are the one, right? You some kind of approval, some kind of applause that you're looking for, then that is all where you take things personally. And it goes beyond the fact that you're expecting things to happen, right? You have a set of expectation within you and you are trying to look outside to get that expectation taken care. Most of the time it doesn't happen, and that's where you get disappointed and you take it personally, right? So the concept here is pretty simple, right? Every one of us live in our own mental space. I mean, we all have to agree that, right? There is no question that you don't you live at your own pace, right? Because I have my own fears, I have my own belief system, I have my own emotional state, I have my own way of thinking. It's all in the mental space, right? So whatever I take as a criticism doesn't necessarily mean that everyone will take the same way, right? So it all depends upon where my mind is at, where my head is at. Right. So why am I taking things personally? Because I feel like, when somebody is criticizing me, and somebody is saying that, hey, you are fit for nothing, you cannot do anything, or something that is not in my system that I hear, right? I take it very personally. If I start to implement this second agreement, which is talking about don't take anything personal, then you're not identifying yourself at a ego level, right? Someone was saying that you are at a soul level. So you don't feel like, you are getting ignored, you're not being valued, people don't care about your opinions, they criticize me, and they feel like, you are like such a useless person. Whatever may be the action and reaction that is happening within that space, you are not touched by it, right? The only time it touches you is when you have an identity to support that, right? How many times somebody gave an opinion on you, you said that, okay, this is your perception of me, I don't care, right? We don't do that. If somebody is saying that, hey, this is what it is, then you take it like, is it so? Is it so? Do you think so? So I need to do so, I need to go so, you take it so personally, and you start to identify yourself, and you start to live through their eyes. So when you start to bring this into our lives, so we are no longer tied by this concept of, hey, I need to do this, or I need to be that, I need to be this, right? There is absolutely no way that your own fears or belief system or anything at an emotional state is going to hurt you. So that's the most important thing. So do not take anything personal. Nothing. Everything, whatever may be the reaction, whatever may be the action, whatever, if someone is not behaving hostile with us, we are not taking it seriously. You're not going to get hurt. You're not going to take it, frustrated. You're not going to get disappointed. You're not going to get frustrated. You don't get very defensive in the conversations. Instead, you are neutral in the awareness, absolutely no emotional charging. So then what happens? You're calm, you're centered, you're balanced. So that's why it's very important that do not take anything personal. I mean, as much as we preach or we talk about it, until we practice these things, these agreements, it is not practical for us to live that life. Right? No matter what is happening, you have to be a witness to the opportunity or a situation. It can only happen if you are very deep in your state of being. Right? Only in the state of being you are able to do that. Only in the state of that awareness you are able to not take it seriously. Anything, whatever is happening, you see the drama as drama. So that's another very important point, right? Whatever may be happening, right? When nothing is personal, see, if anything in my life is personal to me, right, then it really hurts. Because it is personal, it hurts. When you start to have that feeling within you that when nothing is personal, nothing can hurt you. It's a very simple thing. So don't take things personally, means nothing should hurt you, no matter what, whatever may be the situation. Whether it may be the highest of the highest situation, it may be a relationship, it may be your work, it may be your family, it may be someone you lost in your life. Nothing should hurt you when you have not taken personally. And that's the practice. Again, that's why practicing these agreements will help us to get there. Third one, which is also equally important, is don't make assumptions. because these assumptions are the biggest cause, if you really look at it, for suffering. If you start to look at it really, the way we assume things based upon connecting the dots, based upon the way you look at your past, you drive your present, through your present you create your future, right? That is the source of everything, and the biggest cause of misunderstanding, assumptions. Why do we assume? Let's talk about that. Anyone? Why do we assume?
Because we cannot control our mind, it will just assume the stories what when we hear something opposite to us.
Right. What else?
Is it a lack of knowledge? That's why we just assume? Is that true?
It is not just knowledge, but yeah, it can be partially, yes, you're right. It's lack of wisdom. What else? What do we actually assume though?
By our own imagination?
Yes. What else? Think about it. If you can just, what is that you're assuming?
Anything like a fear makes us assumptions like
That's good. Yes.
Our samskaras.
Yes. See, all the known mind patterns, right? The habitual lifestyle that you're leading within you, with the mind that we live today, is the assumptions, right? They come to us naturally. And then why do I assume? I assume that, I want to be spot on, right? I wanted to make sure that I am right in the conversation or in any kind of a given situation. I want to be clear, from fear of asking or fear of saying or fear of thinking, whatever may be that fear that's holding within me, I assume based on that, right? So when you assume that you draw to conclusions, instead of trying to have the clarity, you have the confusion within you, and that creates lot of conflict, right? When somebody you call somebody and somebody does not lift the phone, you kind of put yourself through it. Hey, they are ignoring me, they are upset with me, they are not taking my phone calls, they don't reply. You can think about 100 things right there. So the agreement talks about a very simple concept of communication with a direct stating. Ask very clearly, what do you want? Don't assume things. Don't assume that somebody did not pick up your phone doesn't mean that they are upset or they don't want to talk to you. Don't assume that. Assumption makes it, assumption creates confusion and creates conflict. So somebody is not calling you, somebody you are calling and they are not able to do it, you don't care about it or you don't feel about it. The way we need to look at is, okay, maybe they are busy or they are doing something else, distracted a little bit. We need to give that benefit of doubt before assuming that the connection is short, the relationship is gone. But again, it is because of that habitual mind patterns you continue to bring up the negative side of that, saying that, okay, this is not happening because I'm not qualified, I don't have it, I don't do this, I'm not worth of it. It is like, it's a daily thing, right? These agreements are not something that are coming to us as a one-offs. Every single day we go through some of these things on our daily life, and that's how our life is made up of, right? That's why the reality is the way it is, and we try to change it, we cannot change it because consciously we are not aware within, right? What happens is the assumptions turn imaginations into a false reality. Assumptions turn imagination into a false reality. Whatever may be the truth, whatever may be the actual reality that has come to you or that is bound to happen to you, you have just shifted that with the assumption and imagination, because you just created that, it wasn't there. So it's very important that we start not to assume things, just be clear, just communicate directly. That's the third one. And then the last one, which is also the most important one, is always do your best. Do your best. Best changes always come from moment to moment. Being in the mindful state is very, very important for you to make that distinction, right? It is not about being perfect, it is not about perfection, it is about doing the thing the way you can do it. It just doing your best. That's it. I gave my best on this one, and then leave the rest. Don't worry about it. Always, in every given situation, do your best. Try to do your best. Not good, not better, best. Try to be the best. So when you are looking at your best, you already are in good energy. You already have good state of mind. You are in the greater awareness of yourself. You probably are physically very healthy. Everything is already taken care when you start to be the best, right? I'm trying to overdo this particular work, and it is taking a lot of time, and I'm burning out myself. Not that That's not how it is, right? If you are trying to do over, and you have to realize that you are doing over, and you have to just quit. You have to say stop. You have to say I'm done, right? Do your best and then leave. That's it. What happens is, when you are trying to do your best, you also do your self judgment, right? We should not judge, whether it is judging others or judging yourself. It's a very bad idea, because it creates a block. So do whatever you can without self judgment. Do your best. Do your best. That's it. Leave the rest. But I cannot leave the rest when I do the best. The reason is, I feel that I have done everything in my capacity. I've gone overboard. I did it. I need to get it. I have to achieve it. Without this, my life is nothing. You connect to the results of everything that you do, and that's what happens. That's why it's not gonna work every single time, right? How many times we felt that, hey, I didn't meditate well today. It's a simple example. You come, you sit, and you felt after hour or whatever the time that you sat in meditation, and you come out and you say, I didn't meditate well today. The mindset should always be, hey, I showed up to do my meditation, and I did my best. Whatever happened, happened. Meditation is happening. It is not doing. Then why am I attaching to the doing aspect? So when I say I didn't meditate well today, after my meditation, that's not doing my best. That's your habitual mind talking about it. The way to look at it is, hey, I did my best. I showed up, I did my best today. Whatever happened, happened, because meditation is happening. You have no control. Some days are better, some days are worst, some days are good. Right? So that's what it is. When you do your best, there will be no regrets for any of us. When you have put your 100% and you have done it bodily, mindfully, and then you put your thought process towards it, and then you said, okay, emotionally, you're connected to that work, what you're doing, and you do your best, there shouldn't be any regret. There is no regret whatsoever. If I am regretting means I have not given my 100%. Or I do not understand the concept of giving 100% or doing best. That's why it's very important to bring this into our lives, to make sure that you're not just trying to bring words and matter. It is all about how you are uplifting yourself from the current state to the higher state. These agreements will help us to get there. Right? When we say be impeccable in your words, you got to be very communicative. You got to have self-talk. You got to be very aware of how you are putting it out there, what kind of words you're putting out there. Don't take anything personal. Make sure that your emotional wounds, right? Track all of that. Make sure there is a level of healing that is happening. Because when you are taking things personally, you emotionally hurt yourself. Don't make assumptions. The mental confusion, right? Missing the clarity. And you go about, and then you judge people, you interfere into others' affairs, you do, complaints, a lot of those things are meant to happen when you start assuming things. And always do your best. No guilt, no self-judgment. Just go and do it. That's it. So where this will help, right? If I'm trying to bring, these 4 agreements, and then you start to practice these 4 agreements, not just talking about it, you practice these 4 agreements. What they were talking, the Toltec 4 agreements, is you become very, very receptive. Instead of reacting, you become very calm in your communication style. Instead of getting hurt in every aspect of it emotionally, now if you have emotional freedom, you're no longer bound by this structural lifestyle, right? You have freedom. There is absolutely no confusion in the relationships, because assumptions, you're not assuming anything anymore, right? Like there is a clarity in the relationship, why things are happening the way they are happening. And of course, the consistent mental chatting or mental noise, you will no longer have it. You will live with inner peace all the time. It's such a that's why freedom is not outside. Freedom begins when you have the right awareness and with the agreements that you practice every day. It is within. Freedom is within. So it's very important that we try to, these are very simple and very fundamental, right? If you really look at it, it's not about, hey, you go practice this one, go do that one, step 1 do this, step 2 do this, step 3, there is nothing like that, right? These are very, very basic. Very basic. Watch what you're talking, do your best, don't assume things, very rudimentary. So you have to be grounded for you to be able to practice these things, to make sure that you have that clarity. Meditation certainly helps, to keep up that high energy, and and then help you to practice some of these things, because you have to be aware for you to practice agreements. Right? That awareness comes through meditation. That clarity comes through meditation. It's very important. Meditation is part of it. So with the 4 agreements, it gives you a view as to how this is looked at. And they also gave the 5th agreement, right? It is very interesting, the 5th agreement, right? It's the same Dan Mughal Ruiz, and Don Rose Ruiz, right? They actually gave this. They expanded upon this 4th agreement, and then they talked about the skeptical concept and learn to listen. Be skeptical, but learn to listen is the 5th agreement they actually brought. What does this mean? This is very, very important. 4 agreements are good for you to have a greater awareness, for you to be for you to live with clarity, right? But the 5th one, what it talks about, the essence of it is ideally, hey, don't believe everything you hear, especially your own thoughts, because they are coming from the past lives, right? But you have to listen very deeply with an open heart. This point is this agreement is all about truth, awareness, right? So the 2 parts of the agreements, one is the skeptical aspect of it, which talks about how, what kind of skeptical things that you go through, whether it is, belief system that you're questioning, or whether you're doubling down on your assumptions, or automatically, you're taking opinions, the lifestyle conditioning or social conditioning of ourselves, the inner chatter that goes on in as a voice, or the ego pattern that develops within us, right? How do I make sure that I'm not getting into that, right? What does my mind do is my mind always try to protect my identity and the fear, right? Whatever the fear I carry, my mind tries to protect that. We all know that. We all kind of go through that, right? So what this is all about, learn to listen. Learn, when you are learning to listen, listen to learn. What happens is you're not judging. You're listening without judgment. You are just listening to understand and not to react. And you are, it's more like, you are without any, you're not preparing yourself to say something out. You're just there. You're just there, and then you respond as things come your way, right? Why? Because listening dissolves the misunderstanding and the conflict of the ego. Obviously, it avoids the conflict of ego, because you are listening. You are more a listener than talker, right? It naturally gives you that ability. And that's what the inner silence is all about, right? One of the key benefit of inner silence is there is no conflict whatsoever, because you are silent. So even after practicing the 4 agreements, you still have, right? We still have our own lifestyles, your own stories that you believe. You still react unconsciously. We still assume, right? And the perception of truth, that you carry within you. And 5th agreement helps us to cut that illusion. It gives us that very clarity that we are looking for. That's why be skeptical and learn to listen. It's very important. And the fact that, again, these are meant to be practiced. These are not meant to be talked at. These are meant to be practiced. So you have to bring them into your life for you to have that shift that happens, right? We'll take an example, right? If for some reason you felt like you're not getting respect, right? You got a thought that you're not getting respect. When you are not skeptical and learn to listen, right? When you don't have this fifth agreement, you pretty much, when you feel like you're not respected, you probably would believe in it. It feels to start to hurt you, and then obviously with that going on within you, in the pattern, in the mind pattern, you will react. It's a very natural, spontaneous thing that we react, right? That is how we do it. With the fifth agreement, what happens is you question this. Okay, I'm not respected, right? Be skeptical, right? You question, hey, am I not? So it's saying that I'm not respected means, is it really true that I'm not respected, right? You start to observe it without believing it. What happens when you start to observe without believing it is, it doesn't hurt you. You don't go into the reactive mode. You're very standstill, right? You're at peace, because you're not taking it just like that. So the fifth agreement is the bar, right? It's a divider that helps you to move from that side to this side. That's why it's also important that we kind of look at it, and then what we are learning and how we are listening, and are we skeptical about things and all that. Someone is saying that someone is judging you all the time. In the older concept, you feel like you are getting defended, you're getting argued, or you're getting emotional. You're feeling that this is not your space anymore. But with the fifth agreement, you will be skeptical, and be of the and look at it, to listen to the facts, and then you become very calm. So it is important that shift has to come within. So it is not something that you inculcate in a healthy conversation or anything like that. It is all about practicing it, trying to bring that into your life. And then how do you make sure that these belief systems are not tracked, and the skepticism is not taking you into deeper level and all that, right? So that's why it's very important that we practice it.
But it's like one or two times is okay, but if the other person just thinks that as we are not responding to it, and then we just keep it quiet, and they keep criticizing or disrespecting that, still
You
like we have
let
to
it go,
still.
that's it. Yeah.
Mm.
See, you have to, at some point you got to let it go, right? The reason why you are holding on to it is because you are expecting something out of it, isn't it? The point here is, when you are trying to do your best, you do your best and they leave the rest. If things are not meant to happen, they're not meant to happen. Why am I forcing it to happen? Because my ego is not letting me, accept it. So that is something that I need to work on. Not the circumstances, not the situation, not the other person. It has nothing to do with that. It just, I'm not there yet.
Not
Most of
there
the time,
yet to
that's what happens.
accept. It's not there
Yeah.
to accept what, even though they criticize us. That's what you're
Yes, yeah,
saying.
absolutely, absolutely. That's what it is, right? See, when
Mm.
somebody, even in the PSSM 13 individual principles, if you look at it, one of the principle is all about, if somebody is saying, bad mouthing you, you don't say
Mhm.
anything about it.
Mm.
Because whoever is saying it, they are creating a karma by their own choice.
Yeah.
By
Okay.
you reacting or by you countering that, you create karma too. So we have to be wise.
Mm.
If somebody is saying something to me, that is their perception of me. Doesn't mean that I need to live through them. Right? I'm still what I am.
Mm.
So it is very important to bring that distinction. That's why it has to be practiced. The 18 principles that we have in PSSM, you have to practice them. Then only you will know. How can any of us be called a pyramid master without practicing the 18 guiding principles? How can you become the pyramid master without having those individual 13 guidelines? If something is to be told to you, they're saying, hey, you do this, then you got to do this, right? As a master, you have to say yes. If for some reason you're not supposed to do it, or you don't have time to do it, as an example, you don't want to do it, or you don't have time to do it, then don't say it. Let it happen. Just be silent. Don't give a negative expression to the work that is out there, especially the spiritual work. So these things come only when you're conscious, when you're aware, when you have practiced these agreements for some time, and you cut the illusion aspect out of it with the fifth agreement, and you are very, very, very aware of everything what is happening, more mindful. So that's why truth has to be practiced. Truth cannot be told. Truth cannot be heard. Truth has to be practiced. Only in the practice you will get to live the truth. So that's on that. I mean, I think the more and more you look at it, right? I mean, there are different aspects to this. As to, you can go a little deeper and try to look at it, how my emotional wounds are getting healed, how my speech patterns are affecting my life. You can draw conclusions based on that. You can look at your past and then present, and then do some kind of comparison. We can go to any level trying to figure it out, but I think the best thing to do is try to bring some of these things as practice into our lives, and then enjoy the shift. That's the gist of it. We'll stop here. Any questions?
How does this whole thing, what are the agreements which you're told to keep us like to be controlled, right? Of course, we are doing meditation and we are following, but still there is something with that, like we get hurt for a day or something, probably that will go after a day or something. So how do we, to control the emotions, or if we
So
get anything hurt?
the one thing that we have to have, especially the fifth agreement, right? It's very important that you are living in the witness consciousness. Very important, right? And don't believe anything blindly. Just because someone is saying something, you got to be a spiritual scientist, because it is through the belief system everything else is acting upon, right? The source of everything is belief system. So if you are believing a wrong thing, you have taken in a wrong side. It's as simple as that. And then have full faith on truth, whether it is your the how do you lead life, right? I want to be truthful to myself. You have to have the spiritual depth to be able to live a very, very conscious living. It's a must for us to survive. But and again, right, these are not practices that are impossible to bring into your life. These are very, very practical things that are happening every day in our life, right? These are very fundamental to the human existence. So we cannot say that, hey, I cannot practice this. All it is, hey, be impeccable in your speech, you got to watch. No, I don't have. I keep shouting, I keep yelling, I keep screaming, I keep saying things that are not. Then you suffer the consequences of it. Either you suffer the consequences of it, or the choice is you better bring the shift.
Mm.
So it is only in the practice these agreements probably will make sense, more sense. If I'm just hearing about it and they say, okay, I need to do that, okay, that's fine. I want to live in a witness consciousness. What does it even mean, right? Witness consciousness is observing. How can you be observing when you are only being, right? You are in that awareness. When you're doing, you're not there. When you're feeling, you're not there. When you're thinking, you're not there. When you're being, you are there. The soul consciousness that you were talking earlier, right? So you will be there. And that is practice. Only through practice you get there.
Sometime,
Mhm.
sometime like, if someone says something, then it will print in the locked in the mind, and then I'm just trying sometimes like how to unlock those things. Is how we
See,
can
if
do that?
somebody, like we spoke about, right? Somebody is touching on your identity or ego, it immediately sticks to you. It's a natural thing. As long as you are taking that ego as you, right? Here, don't take anything personally. The second point, third point, right? I mean, you have to look at it from perspective. Okay, somebody said something. Is that what I'm gonna believe? Is that what I am? So now I'm gonna live through his eyes or his view. See, some of these things are, you have to introspect within you to see, okay, why am I even taking that into consideration? Why am I even judging myself based upon this one comment that came from outside, who is nobody? Because I am identifying through my ego and I take pride in my ego, I want to make sure that all my surroundings, whether it is through relationship or through friend circle, whatever it may be, right? I want to be perfect. That's my personality, right? That's what we need to give up. When you start to question that very authority or authenticity as to why I'm accepting that, if somebody is saying something and I'm taking that granted and I'm living that kind of a lifestyle, if you ask the question why then and there, you will let it go. But for most of the time we don't do that. The reason is we don't have that awareness. And hence, meditation is the most important aspect here, which will help you to have that awareness so that you can start questioning at the mental space, at the emotional space, at the physical space. Even when you are doing things, you are not attached.
Anil sir,
Yeah.
we have this perspective, and
Mhm.
but we have to interact with that person's like multiple times, and each
Mhm.
time we know, though we know that these people will throw something at us, they try to do something. We have that awareness, so we do not care. We think that whatever they are telling about us, it's their perspective, so I do not care, and we stay calm. But how should be the relationship? So we need to avoid them, or we need to be speak less with that person, or be normal with that person.
See, what happens is when you know it's a garbage, you try to avoid it, right? When you know for sure it is a garbage, you try to avoid it. When you know that you got to be part of it, you cannot avoid it, then you keep your mouth shut. Silence is the best medicine for everything.
Okay.
Only if we could be silent. That's the point, right? The point that we are trying to get home today is we have to be silent. Impeccable in your words is about, exactly what to say, when to say, how to say, where to say. Because whatever you are saying is coming back to you, right at you. It's not just coming back. It's not 1:1. It's 1:1,000. Universe always gives you in abundance. So if a relationship you are in and somebody is hurting all the time, if there is a possibility to avoid it, yeah, you avoid it. but you cannot avoid it, then be silent. Don't take it very seriously, because other person may judge you in thousand different ways. Only when you believe that that is what it is, then it works on you. Otherwise, it's just a comment.
Yeah, got it. Thank you so much, Anil.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So,
Yeah,
the tyranny of your belief system, right? That's what the fifth agreement, right? It is very important we understand the tyranny of the belief system. When you believe it is when it starts to work for you. Until that time, it is not going to work. It's just the pass through. Go ahead.
yeah. I have that issue. Like I think, like once it printed in the mind and it's going repetitively, and I just ask myself, oh, this is not good, this is not right, and this is not for me. But even though it just continuously repeated on the mind, imprinted and repeated, so in that scenario, how I can unlock that
The,
information?
the most simplest way to take off your mind's stress is meditation,
Mhm.
right? When you sit and meditate, you are trying to empty your mind. Whenever you get that thought, or whenever you get that feel, or whenever you get into that thinking pattern, you just observe your breath. The most simplest way. What
Okay.
happens? The thought will release. It may come back again, 1 hour later, but again observe the breath. If you do not want to give importance, you wanted to release it from your system, and you realize that that is not in your interest,
Mhm.
why hold on to it,
Okay.
right?
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. So meditation is emptying. Remember, meditation is emptying your mind. Everything, whatever maybe you're carrying, the negative aspect of it, a pattern that you have created, or somebody said something and you are jolting onto it or holding on to it, you want to get, meditation is the way of it.
Mhm.
Distraction is not going to help. Most of the time what we do is something, you're bothered, you come and watch a TV and you say that, okay, I'm going to watch this 2 hour movie, I'm not bothered. Right after the movie is done, that very thing what you left off, you will be reminded again by your mind, and you're stuck again. Instead of that, try to empty your mind. You'll be free of it.
Yeah, yeah, and most of like if I watch the news and if there is a like a accident or anything happens or bad thing happens, and that comes in a mind and repeatedly that comes continuously, and try to unlock it, but it's very hard.
That's the practice, madam, right? That's what I'm saying. So that's
Mhm.
why these things, when we hear about it, four agreements or fifth agreement, all of that is good to talk about it, but only when we practice it is when it is gonna really make that shift, right? Otherwise, it is not gonna help us in the shift. So the way you need to look at it is, right, how much of this, whatever I'm hearing today in the session, am I really practicing it, bringing it into my life? That's the most important part. The shift can only happen like where you are doing it unconsciously. Now you have to be aware consciously. How that shift happens? Only through practice.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Right. Any other questions? All right, Master. No questions then. We'll call it a night. We'll see you all tomorrow. We are doing satsang tomorrow. Please do join us at uh, Purnima Madam. I think Purnima Madam's place. Yes. So please do join us in the evening. Those who are local here. So we'll see you all there. All right.
And
Have a wonderful evening.
quick reminder, tomorrow we'll be starting our satsang a little earlier, probably 5 p.m. I'll just send the reminder in the group as well for the
Yeah,
schedule.
please.
So we'll start at 5 p.m. tomorrow.
Yeah, because it is winter, it's getting darker sooner, so we should start early. That way we can, everybody can disperse, a little early in the night. It's a good idea. Thank you.
Yeah, I cannot attend in the evening time because if I get a carpool, then I can do that. But I'm scared to drive in the evening time in these days, so I think I may not be able to.
No worries, man. We'll have Zoom and virtual on as well. You can certainly join and then you can listen in and you can ask
Okay.
questions. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I'll
Yeah.
join it virtually.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Virtually is available. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Anil.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank
Have a wonderful
thank you.
evening. See you all
Thank you.
tomorrow. All right.
Good
Take
night,
care.
sir.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye. Bye.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.